Welcome everyone, and I'm here with Arfio, the newly crowned Tengu World Champion. Of course, we know everything about your deck you run, but first, let's start with you. So, what do you feel sharing about yourself?
Hi everybody, I am Antonio. I am 26 and I am an electrical engineer. I am from Italy, like you can see from my broken English accent. You know me because I am Arfio, the new Tengu champions of this year.
How are you and Yu-Gi-Oh? When did you start? Have you quit or come back? Do you play Modern, Master Duel, anything similar?
So my Yu-Gi-Oh journey is quite particular because I played as a kid, but just like throwing cards with some friends. I never done local when I was a kid. I started playing a little bit more competitive, if I can call so, around 2018 when there was a old YouTube channel, Ginzo and Tonic, which was playing a lot of GOT on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro was called that program. Now I think it's Edo Pro. So I started by playing GOT around that time, and then as soon as discovered format library and dueling book, I dropped it completely because at that time was pretty toxic everything about GOT. Then around the COVID period, I started playing Edison online, but again the Edison scene was too toxic for me, so I dropped that too. And then when I got to Catania for my master degree, there were a few locals, and so I started playing Edison locals. But in my life, I have never played any modern.
And over Yu-Gi-Oh's history, what decks would you say are your favorite? Beyond Zombie, if that wasn't obvious.
My favorite deck are all related to the anime because that's why I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Heroes and the numbers Xyz Monster also got a place into my heart. Yeah. I don't have a particular deck which I am related to.
Both heroes and numbers are closely linked to the respective animes. So, which Yu-Gi-Oh animes have you watched?
Not the very first one because I was too young, but the 5D eras I watched pretty much everything. Also the Zexal era I watch everything and a little about season 3 and 4 of the Jaden one. GX maybe?
Correct.
GX, yeah.
You mentioned Goat and Edison earlier. Beyond Tengu, what other formats do you like? Do you play any other format actively?
No, 1 or 2 years ago I was playing Edison weekly at my locals, but now I am playing some Tengu now and then, and that's it. Sadly, because here where I am living right now, there is no locals about Edison or Tengu, not even GOT, but I haven't played GOT for a while, so I am pretty much an online player.
Do you play any other card games? Do you play any other traditional games or video games, as the elders say?
I don't play any other card game because I am really lazy and I don't like learning new mechanics. But I play a lot of board games with my friends, like Monopoly and Risico are my favorites one. Also, I play a little bit of chess. I like chess.
What's your rating in chess if you play online?
Like 9,000, something like that.
I have no idea if
I'm not.
that is good or bad. I don't play chess.
No, it's really bad. It's really bad. But you know, the world champions say that over 5,000 is good.
I think everyone associates you beyond the zombie deck with your profile picture of a grumpy Luffy. Do you
Yeah.
watch One Piece?
I don't watch any anime, but I really enjoy reading manga. But I dropped One Piece 2 or 3 years ago because I wasn't happy how Oda was going on with his stories. Like I think I dropped around Wano. I am not giving any spoilers, so who knows? Knows.
I'm a big manga reader. I've read around 300 mangas, and Wano is one of the worst arcs in any manga I've ever read.
Yeah, yeah.
For the part that everyone is interested in, or at least I know I am, because I'm a big zombie aficionado, your take on zombies, a deck traditionally not seen as very viable in Tengu, is very different from mine, Necros, and other previous attempts at it. So can you explain a bit about how your deck works?
Before getting into my Tengu list, you have to know that I played a lot of zombie decks in Edison. I kinda have a little of experience in the Edison scene about zombies. I brought also zombies to Tengu because I saw that plants were doing good. Automatically in my mind there was a little light. Oh, also zombie can do great. So I essentially the very first list I did was my hero zombie list from Madison, cutting out the heroes and putting some Tengu stuff like BLS, Tengu, Veiler, Max, and it did really well. I made up to the top 4 of the first World Championship qualifier. And then without seeing any other of list like yours or Necro One, I made some changes into the list and arrived to a final version which let me win Tengu Tussle 7.
You sailed into first place on Tengu Tussle with nearly an unchanged list. The biggest difference is a different side deck and one card changed in main deck, if I'm looking correctly. How did those changes come about?
I didn't practice at all when I played my first tournament with zombies. I literally jumped into the format. But with only that experience, from what also I've seen from my at the time local friends, that zombie played a little different from plants. So I essentially cut the 1-for-1, and I think that's all. Yeah, for a deep reason, because I noticed that Ryo was everywhere. There was not a lot of thought behind that. I wasn't taking Tengu very seriously at that time. Also, the side changes are all about, I think this was more or less the same side I used in Edison, speaking about the list into the World Championship Qualifier 1. Instead, in the Tussle list, I started realizing way to optimize of some rash, also playing better into agents. There, I was starting optimizing the deck.
And that brings us to your. We're gonna skip your list that placed 11 out of 14 in the played
Yeah,
heroes.
that was just a meme because Jaina was saying to me, play hero, and I took 3 heroes and I put those in a zombie list. But it was an experiment to kinda save BLS into the list because in zombies there is no good ways to play Envoy. It's a broken card, but most of the times was just a dead card in my end. I also have to do some suboptimal plays with Android into the extra, so it was terrible.
And that brings us to the list that actually won Worlds, which looks very different from the previous ones. It's even more different than the hero list in amount of cards changed. And I think this is the list that people want to hear about. If you would be able to go over the list for us, I think we would appreciate that.
This list is from a seasonal perspective because I played a lot this format between the larger season and also the other qualifiers. I think I played all qualifiers with meme decks, but I still played. So I made some adjustment into my worst matchup, which is anything that plays Ryo. That's all. Not only that, but also if you look at the list, there are really two big changes, which are no more Tengu, and instead I play 2 Tartus and Il Blood. And the other change is no Veilers, and so no Envoy, for 2 Pods and Allure. So the first change is to deal with the Ryo essentially, but also Turtle is a way to not waste and not be dependent of your normal summon. It's a generic card, but not a standard recruiter, because he can bring essentially everything, like Goblin or also Blood, which is a huge beater, and also can bring all other turtles in defense position, which is huge for stalling. Drawing two turtles in your opening hand, it's not that bad as drawing to Tengu. I think somebody in your interview said the same thing that I am saying, but it's true. The other reason to not play Tengu is that the deck has only three clear ways to make synchro, which are Bulb and Plague Spreader, used 2 times. Using Tengu for synchro plays was never happened, or just 1 or 2 times. And also using Bulb as a normal summon to do synchro, in my opinion, is incorrect in 95% of the cases, because you want always to discard the Bulb with Zombie Master to make Trish play. Also, I would like to say that I didn't realize at the very beginning of my Tengu experience that Zombie really has three great points to be a good deck, which are the best Leviair of the format, the best Trishula of the format, and the best Brionac of the format. Realizing that, I kinda manipulated the main to be able to spam those monsters. And Turtle, in fact, can facilitate to summon those synchro, and also Leviair with the Reaper. The other big change I was talking about is adding consistency card like Pods and Allure. Pods plays into Ryo, but still adding consistency is always good, because you want to make those unfair plays with Zombie, which are essentially spamming Ice Barrier Synchros. This deck should be called Ice Barrier Turbo, not Zombie. That's my idea, because it's true that Envoy wins games, and also Valor is generically a good card, but if you succeed into stalling your opponent, seeing all the resources, and then OTK your opponent, you have won anyways. So was the right call. Also, I didn't feel like it was an error not playing Valor, because essentially you have your ways to deal with your opponent, like Econ and Karma Cup. The other big change was Karma Cut instead of Wing Blast, and that's because I respected a lot the Agent matchup.
A big difference in the trap lineup for me, beyond the swap from Wing Blast to Karma, is you're not running Mirror Force anymore. What's the reasoning behind that?
I am not running it because once again I respected agents, and I thought that there was a lot of agents, so mirror into agents is not good. Also, with this deck, the opponent in general doesn't attack that much into your monsters. It was not really needed to, in that way, to stop your opponent, because probably they would never attack into a set monster. The card that I really had to look up was for Ryo, which enemy controller once again did a fantastic job just to negate the attack, switching him to defense, and the next turn I would run over it, even with Goblin.
I imagine it
Also,
did raise some eyebrows that you played 2 Econ now, but you played 1 when you played Tengu.
yeah, when I played Tango, because once again, there was not a right play to do with Econ, because this deck has not an easy access to tunnels like Plant Synchro. It's really complicated. Also, when you use Flag Spreader effect from the grave, it's a -1. It was not a clear play, like could be now that if they attack into a turtle, I bring a goblin zombie, then use Econ and search for the tunnel. It's completely different now. Also, a thing important to me me is that the ratio between Goblin and Tartus, because Goblin in this format is at 3, but I still played 2 because I feared a lot Rayo, and also because sometimes searching for a card is worse than summoning it. There is also a mathematical reason for that, because if your opponent summons a Rayo, they are going to attack you like most of times. And mathematically, in my opening hand, I will see like 65% of times Turtle instead of 35% Goblin. So it's more probably for me to set a Turtle instead of a Goblin.
There's only one Book of Life main deck, which I think that number can vary between 3 and 1 personally. What led you to run one Book of Life?
I asked myself, if this card was limited, would I have been playing it? And the answer was yes. Honestly, was between Book of Life and Monster Gate, one of these two cards. I think that I went for Book of Life because I also cut Scapegoat. So instead of a summoning token card, I used Book of Life, which is also justified by playing Il Blood. A side note into Il Blood is of course to run over Rayo, but never do the same play into a Venus unless you know that your opponent is not a Tragoedia. Otherwise you will lose on the spot. I have seen this stuff done a lot.
Did you test and or consider Rayo Koki over Il Blood, since it can trade with heroes even under skill drain and versus Honest and Envoy?
No. So I did not never take in consideration that card because Il Blood is better in just having an effect and also enabling Black Brute Drago, which is a good card into the format because actually nobody knows, but he can dodge in a certain way both warnings and Rayo effect, because when it's destroyed it doesn't stay on the field, so also negating his summon brings back Il Blood, and also 2100 is more than enough to clear everything.
Speaking of Black Brute Drago, that card does not see a lot of play. The extra deck has also changed a lot between the versions you have played. The biggest difference is Black Brute Drago, Naturia Beast, and Orient Dragon in, Gaia Knight, Android, and Formula out.
Yes, I actually cut everything which was light and was into the extra deck just because of the envoy into the main. So I had a lot of room because I have 2 spots from Formula and Android, and also an additional spot from cutting Tengu from the main, which let also Gaia Knight be cut because was the only reason why he was there into the extra. Going on, I think that Librarian is not needed. I thought that I could do some heavy synchro plays with Il Blood, but it's really difficult. It's just better to do Beast plus Stardust at that point, if you can make like 5+8 with the Blood.
The Karma Cut choice was due to the agent matchup. Karma Cut is worse versus Venus, I would say, since they can levier it back compared to it being shuffled into the deck. Was the choice versus the boss monsters that are not really answered with Wing Blast, or was there a deeper reason that I'm missing?
No, the reason was exactly this one. Venus is not a problem for the deck because there are 6 ways to run over it. 3 are Tijus, and also the other 3 are Pyramid Turtles, bringing Il Blood. I would say that the deck really loses only to the Hyperion spam, which is an incredibly fast play for a deck this low, because at the end of the day it's yes a mid-range deck, but it's more a control deck, or at least my version is really control oriented.
A lot of the cards you included definitely allow a more simplified game state where a recruiter resolving can be more or less game deciding. While the traditional Magic the Gathering lingo does not really apply to Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a whole thing, but zombies kinda act like waves on a storm, where it starts really slow, gets bigger and bigger, but when it reaches the apex all resources are spent and you can basically not win anymore.
I never touched anything from Magic, but I kinda get it because you want to to trade resources with your opponent, and you also have to be really careful while doing it, because missing some spots where you have to do or not do your normal, but also which monster you need to search. It's kind of crucial.
So the side deck is similar to a mix of your earlier side decks, I'd say, but there is one big difference in the triple trap stun. How did this side deck come together?
So the side, once again, is driven by my experience into Tengu. And yes, the biggest difference is trap stun. I played it and not degree for the simple reason that I couldn't side out every trap or most of them for TG, because I had a real problem about switching into degree with this deck. So Funkat, it was Funkat that suggested me to try Trapsan. And I have to say, it was a great idea, because you can side both Skill Drain and Trapsan. Instead, with just Royal Degree, you couldn't do such thing. And it was incredibly good against Guari's deck, which is kinda Karakuri and gadgets, the Machina pile, I think it's called. And also against Chaos Synchro, I did a similar thing. I completely removed Heavy Storm and Typhoon for Skill Drain and Trap Stun, and totally worked. So it's a decent card. Also, aggro decks have a problem with dealing with Turtle. So you can gain resources and then blow up in one turn. And you can do that with traps, and it's completely fine. You don't need more than 1 or 2 turns to OTK your opponent.
You used to be on Chimera Tech, then you cut it, and now it's back. Was that a meta call, or do you think it's just correct to run it?
I think it's correct. Also, it was a meta call for Froststorm, which I knew he was playing card troopers into agent list, but there was room for it and I played. It's really simple. If your extra deck can run Chimera deck, you should, in my opinion. Also, Hydra is a generic good card going second. In my list was also a good card for skill drain. It's like mixing more generic cards together.
And there's the singletons in the side. One Vanity's Fiend, one Forbidden Lance, one Leeching and one Vortex. At first you were on 2 Leeching, presumably for agents, but maybe heroes too. And then you swapped to double Vortex and now you're on 1-1, along with the other 2 one-offs. I think Vanity's Fiend is pretty good, and your last game of the finals had a very impressive play with Naturia Beast Vanity's Fiend. Were those singletons correct?
No, I am cutting everything of these 4 copies, because sadly I didn't notice before playing the tournament, but you need a way to deal with the big monsters under skill drain. So what I will do is cutting both Vortex and Leashing for 2 smashing, and a Forbidden Lance for a Jeans, which I think it's a win condition against heavy trap deck. And then the Vanity was good into the final, because I didn't side skill drains, just to mess a little with Kyle, because we have been playing like back to back 9 games, 8 games. So I kinda changed my side patterns in that last game. But it's completely wrong with the skill drain. It was dead like most of the games. So I would play a Starlight maybe, or I don't know, something to protect my traps.
I personally am not a fan of siding skill drain into Tengu Plant. Do you still think that's correct?
It's correct, because you have an additional way to deal with Ryo, which is good. Also, I am not a fan of Valor into plants, but skill drain basically slow them down a lot and also makes them do incomplete synchro plays, like they cannot extend a lot because their TQ is level 3 vanilla. Same for debris, so they are more likely to do just basic synchro plays with just tank, which is good. You are slowing them down. If you succeeded into slowing your opponent down, sooner or later you will win for sure with zombie.
Is there anything else about the side deck that might fly under someone's radar?
Yeah, that I've seen this done a lot in Edison. I don't know in Tengu, but most likely I am the only one playing a zombie in Tengu, so I am going to say never forget to side out your Reaper with the skill drain. I don't know why people kept that Reaper, but it's completely wrong. Just bring in two side.
Okay, so next up is the extra deck. Pretty standard, 3 more or less uncommon cards, and as someone who has played quite a bit of zombies, but more in other formats than in Tengu, I think Gaia Knight is really well positioned because it can attack over Leviathan and doesn't suffer the catastrophic loss that it can be if they stop your Brionac. That wasn't enough of a reason to run it for you. So why did you cut Gaia Knight?
Because from my previous tournament experience, I summoned Gaia Knight just with Tengu. Was never the right play summoning it with Complete Zombie. Never. So I just prefer to run Chimera attack instead. Real never came up.
You're also not on Steel Swarm Roach, which many people see as pretty core to Zombie, since it's easy to make with Zombie Master. I think I've never won a game where I've summoned Roach personally. What was your reasoning for not including it?
There was not a reasoning. In fact, I think it's wrong not playing it. You can definitely cut Librarian for him, which is also good into this deck because you can make boards with Naturia Beast plus rank 5, which require Turtle and Zombie Master, and also Bulb with its effect. It's easy. I did it like 2 times into my run, so I would definitely playing him from now on.
If you had to cut the extra deck down, you mentioned Librarian as a potential exclusion. What else did not pull its weight?
So the only other card that I never summoned was Black Rose, which I mean it's really hard to summon Black Rose into this deck. You require a Caius and Bulb. That's the only way you can make Black Rose, but I would never play without it. So I think that the only wrong call was Librarian. That's it.
A common use case of Librarian in Tengu is to beat over opposing catasters, but I think that it's less relevant in Zombie as you can so easily make 6s compared to 5s, and all the 6s already out cataster. Is that the reason why it wasn't needed?
Essentially, yes, because you have Revived King, which is dark and it's bigger. So, and it's also easier to summon. That's my way to deal with the Catastor. Also, it's even better because you can bring back Revived King with Metsuti or Book.
Blood even.
Yeah.
Is there anything about the deck as a whole that you would have changed? And if this magically was 39 cards, what would you add? What would you add to Decider Extra if you could just have one more slot? And was there anything you would have cut?
Just for the meme, I would run Decisive Armor. I would never summon that against Sanjet. It's just too risky. And also, they are going to summon those Hyperions, so you were never going to do a lot of burn against them.
So was there something you would have removed beyond the side deck that you already mentioned?
No, I think everything is optimizes at their best for my playstyle.
So you mentioned playstyle here. Was there anything in this deck beyond what you mentioned that was a meta call that you would change because it's not this tournament anymore?
Probably cutting Trap Shoot for a mirror because I don't like playing that card, but it was Word, so I needed to play it. It's a good list.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty clean. Now up to the tournament itself. Going into it, who and or what did you think would win the tournament?
So I thought that 3 people had a really good chance. which was Kyle, because probably into the server he has always been quiet, but he won basically a qualifier, a Tatsul, and a Italian nuts back to back, which was crazy. Also, probably him and Tia are the best Tengu plant players. So, and also I had you, but I thought you were into agents, not into GX Turbo. Frostorm, of course, and I thought that PS45 was going to do well. Instead, I think that other players, we are starting to understand better the Infernity combos and their choke points. So I think that played a huge role.
As for deck, you thought basically agents or plants would win, I'm gathering then.
Just agents.
And you mentioned a bit of your prep, but were there any players or matchups that you were extra comfortable or scared of?
I was like it's pretty obvious, a lot afraid of agents, really a lot. And luckily for me, I only had one match against agents, which I lose. And I think for players, probably Prosser, but just because of his various accomplishments. That's all. Other players, even probably because I started playing in April 25. But in every interview, people were saying that he won 2 times. He won twice, and he was going to win again. So I kind of was looking for him, but he decided to play for keepers, I think. Yes, and automatically he threw out of the equation itself with that deck. I don't know why he chooses that. It's not a good deck in my opinion.
We're going hot takes already, even though I think most people agree with you at this point.
He's a fantastic player, don't get me wrong, but Gravekeeper are just a slow deck, and even if they resolve Royal Tribute, they cannot push if you turns. You are back with your resources, and you are going to win anyway. That's the problem with the deck.
On the flip side, were there players that you, or decks that you felt you had a strong edge versus? Like maybe there's a friend who you always beat, or there's a matchup you know you cannot lose?
The matchup I know I can't lose was against Tengu Plant Synchro, because literally the only time that I lose was into the grand finals, the first match against Kai. I played in my Tussle run against like 2 former champions, which were Tia and the other one, no special pledging. I don't know their name, which is into the format library server, but so I was pretty confident that Plant is a good matchup unless they stick around or draw multiple Ryo. And also I think that TG was another matchup, just because they want to go slow, but so do I. And zombie always win if you don't push enough. In chess, I would say that zombie is the equivalent of chess of Zugzi 1, which means whatever your opponent does as a move, he will get in a worse position. Because if I set a monster and my opponent doesn't know if it's a turtle, it's a goblin, or it's even a bluff, if they don't attack me, I get more turns. But if they attack me and it's a turtle, I may blow up the next door, which is a really great advantage for zombies.
That came up on stream too when you were playing versus me, because I dark-called your one face-down monster, and the casters questioned it. If you had a Caius in hand, I would lose on the spot, and if it was a pyramid turtle, I still had a chance in the game. But it was a goblin, so I instead lost immediately anyway.
Yes, exactly. You don't know. Zombie has slow monsters, but they can easily do synchro plays into one turn, which your opponent doesn't even know because they don't know what you have in hand and also what you need from the field. It's really complicated. Also for me, playing it, I missed a lot of little shots, but it's also why I like it. About that is your mental capability is going down round after round after round, which is really, really difficult to keep an high level playing zombie.
I like to refer to decks like Zombie as struggle decks, because you don't get free wins in the same way you do as agents. You have to play every game out, even if you have a broken hand and you are sure you're gonna win.
Yes, I agree totally. That's so true. Yeah.
A wise man once said, if you make top cut in a tournament, you're probably good, but you're definitely lucky. So I want to look at a game where you could have won, or felt that you should have won, but didn't. We have this footage here of you versus Kirk, or D Kirk, Jerk.
Yeah, it was against Chaos Synchro. Or now it's called, I think, Fabled Synchro.
I think the deck should be called Cats if Chaos, but Jazz has a strict no pet name policy, only the most neutral terms.
Oh, okay. So here I'm trying my Trish play.
This is such a blowout. Did you get the wind too?
No, I clear his field here because if he resolved that wing blast was game for me. Here I decided to set traps and previous turn, even with Gord, I decided to set trap stun because this is the situation where you kind of get the feeling that in the next one or two turns you are going to blow up and OTK your opponent. And it was the right call, but I missed the right line because I had Reborn and Foolish. So I was pretty sure that I had the line, but fatigue got me. Here the line, it's really, really difficult because you have to special Sidra, use Trap Stun of course, then reborn your bulb, make Brionac effect, discard bulb, foolish for Mezuki effect, summoning il blood, normal summon il blood, special zombie master effect, bring another zombie and then you OTK. Was a crazy combo and I didn't see it, but I had game. Really unlucky.
I thought the combo was going to involve a tribute summon of Gores, but that is not enough damage.
No.
So what ended up happening instead is Foolishing Mesuke into a more standard line, or?
Yes, just went for a standard Trish play and then here. Thank God I don't play Snipe Hunter because it's totally broken. That dice on DB.
Yep. And even though you did not get the OTK, the game seems to be pretty close to over here anyway.
Yeah, but he won this game.
Also, you actually did lose the game, not just lose.
Yeah. I and then won game 3, luckily. But here I completely lost this game. Too much advantage. I used all my resources.
Even Gores is not enough here.
Yeah. That Dark Hole saved me, but was not now. He kept beating down with that Kushan. Yeah.
I think I watched this on stream, but I joined so I didn't know you had vanities in hand.
Even missed little here without summoning, I think, Librari.
And now we've seen a game that you should have won but lost. And it's time for the opposite, a game where you won but should have lost.
Which ironically is the very last game of the tournament. The game that won me the World Championship. Here, I think that Kyle thought that holding Mirror was a good call for Vanity Fiend, which at the end of the day costed him the tournament. Also, I kept drawing that card like a second TG with the Sangan Engrave. So here I was in a desperate position. My idea was already to establish a Naturia Beast plus Vanity Fiend board with Solemn to protect my play, because in my opinion this is the right usage of Tonem Judgment. But here Kyle had like everything. I think I got maxed once again. I had used the Reborn on Lonefire. The intention was to summon my own bulb to make a beast, was what I was trying to do.
You didn't know the Mirror Force, did you?
No,
I th-
because I thought that he would have used it, but instead he was not.
and here I think you summoned the Lone Fire in defense. Is that correct?
Yes,
And
because I thought that was torrential instead. That's why in defense. And also was lucky for me because if it was in attack, you would definitely use that mirror.
I think there's a way higher likelihood of that, leaving you with a dead tour guide and Vanity Fiend you cannot summon. Is it here that you think Kyle
Yes, it
should have
should.
Mirror Forced you?
Yes, definitely. He knew my end. There was no real reason to not mirror here. If I have to guess, it's more likely because he was saved for the vanity. It's my call.
Did you open Judgment?
Yes, also.
Maybe he thought you Judgment it and had to hold, but then you can Warning it.
But if I use judgment, he can dark call me the next turn. So to me, not using mirror here, knowing my entire hand and field, he probably didn't knew just the black ore, the only card, because a mirror here meant a solemn, and then the next turn using a dark hole, which I cannot bury it anymore.
So this is one of the moments that won you the title.
Yes, exactly. Because here he tries to make a scrap dragon and he get it.
In
And
top
then
deck.
he gets punished with the heavy storm. And here there is the combo. Here I decided to bait the crow. No reason to leave him with other monsters to set. There is no way out from here. Just torrential, I think. Which I wouldn't have playing into. Because mirror was out.
Yeah, this is pretty much the hard lock except Torrential Needle Sealing and other weird side deck cards.
Yes, yeah.
And with that, the game is over.
Yes, the terror with the mirror let me win, essentially.
That was the run. As a Yu-Gi-Oh player, what are your thoughts about the format in general?
So the format is really enjoyable, unless someone is playing agents. But it's, I would say, one of a kind to cook decks, because there is no prevalent DDV decks, which literally kills every T2 or minor strategies decks like in Edison. And also, there are no hard locks type of deck into this format.
I've heard there's a
Yeah.
deck that puts Vanity's Fiend and Naturia Beast on board.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes happens, yeah. But it's really good in that way, because in other formats, for example in Edison, when I created some deck or some kind of new, if can call like that, strategy, there was always that barrier of Blackwing playing DTP, Vayu OTKing you on turn 2. Here, even Plant Synchro, it's not that consistent into their plays. It's a really enjoyable format, which is the reason why I am still here playing Tengu. It's great. For example, when I created and won a TTC with Warrior Synchro, TG Synchro, something for a deck similar could have never won if there was a big DDB deck or a heavy trap format, which is really good. Not even Redo format is close to the potential of the Tengu format and the new decks that can succeed.
Let's talk rankings. Currently, I do not agree, but let's say for sake of argument that the 5 best decks are Agent, Plant, TG, Hero, Chaos, in that order. Where would you play Zombie?
To me, it's completely wrong, the hypothesis, if we can call like this, because it's more like that there is agents a level above everything else, but not because it's a strong deck, it's just because one card, which is Hyperion. If that deck didn't add that card and had to play like Chaos Sorcerer, it was a really fun deck. I would say that the real winner, if we can call it like that, is Agents, and then all other decks that you mentioned are about the same power level. Even Plant Synchro, if you watch every Plant Synchro player that took part at the war, they were not consistent. Even Kyle, he didn't manage to win more than 2 or 3 games in a row, which is good. I mean, it's fine, because even a good player can be an indicator that the deck is not that prevalent as people thought in the past, which also is everything connected to what I was saying, that the format is enjoyable for that reason. It's somehow a slow format, and all these decks that you mentioned are also slow decks. Fine too. Every deck can do their unfair plays, but I won't do a classification of those. And also I just will throw Zombie into that crucible, and would say that it's a tier 2 deck, like Falcon, like a lot of other decks.
That's not gonna make for a good soundbite when World Champion says long, complicated, and thoughtful response, but I'll take it. Beyond zombies, are there any other underrated decks in the format you think should be explored more?
Warrior Synchro, of course. And more seriously, I think that 6M has a really good chance of being a decent deck. It's a complicated puzzle to solve, but I can see potential into that deck. Also, X-Havers got some results this year, but they are a cool deck. They were not hit so hard from the ban list, so I think there are ways to play those decks and also to be successful.
And on the inverse, what decks do you feel are overrated?
This is an hot take, but it's so true. It's Plant Synchro. It's not overrated because probably it's the most explosive deck that there is in that mega tier 2 of deck. But I think that it kinda has to move on from Ryo and Tengu. They are inconsistent, they don't facilitate the main lines, they are just cards, which is good in a certain way that generic cards can improve a strategy. But here you have hands where you draw your plant engine without any support, and your plant engine is dead, and you lose games like that in that deck.
Are there any cards in specific that you think are sleeper or should see more play, or you would recommend the people play more?
I have two. The first one, which is obvious, is Caius. Caius is a great card because it's generic. It can target any card, even face down, and the same turn can attack, which is incredibly good because enables a lot of damage in one turn. And on a side note, Hyperion can do the same things, and that's why it's a broken card, completely broken. But speaking of Caius, I think that a lot of decks can support it and also should play it, like Chaos Synchro, I think, or Fabled Chaos, I don't know. But that deck surely could play Caius and would be great to play it. The second card is Monster Gate. I think I know why it's not played, because in this format you have to play a lot of hand trap to survive a turn. But in a format where you can summon Sangan so easily, it's kinda strange to me that no decks at all play it. I was considering even into zombies to play it, but because I was playing Caiuses and Max, I preferred to just play a Book of Life. But in a lot of decks could be a really good card.
You already mentioned more or less Ryo and Reborn Tengu, but are there also cards that you think should see less play than they currently do?
I think we are on the same boat on this, but Veiler. definitely Valor. Because I would say that Valor is good if you need to support Envoy. You have some lights into your deck and you need a searchable light with Sangan and easy to discard because basically you are paying its cost. But otherwise, if you are playing other cards like Econ or more traps, you are fine even without Valor. Most of the times I realized that was a -1 using it. Also, I already mentioned Tengu. I cut it from my deck, but also if you are not into a stun strategy, that two Tengus in hand are fine, because basically are just another normal. It really slows you down, and it's not the right way to create a deck around it. And of course, Ryo is another hot tech. I get that some decks need to play it like heroes, but other combo strategies, they should focus on something else before going for Ryo.
Let's say that, hypothetically, I would also want to win worlds. What would be your advice to someone looking to do this?
Just play a lot. Don't fear to lose a lot too, because I literally threw my rating into the ladder season, but I really got a lot of experience from that. And also, don't be afraid to do not your best at the very first tournament. I kinda start from a position that I played locals for 2 years every week, so I was used to play tournaments and a lot of games, one after another, but if you take your time, you will succeed. It's just a matter of learning some strategies and learning also which strategies fits more into your playstyle. That's all.
There has been some talk in channels and in my interviews about a custom Tengu format, and to clarify to people who were asking, this is probably not something that's happening because it's not supported by Retrobot and other more complicated reasons, but I think it's a good thought experiment regardless. So what would you say would be the best, if minimal, changes one could make to the Tengu format ban list?
I would say that the really changes that I would do for this format are two. Probably banning dash shoot for obvious reasons. No one's like the game style that card provides, and also just ban Hyperion. To not touch agents a lot would be fine. I could play like chaos strategies, and for the other cards, I would say it's fine.
Also unban Elma card is cheeks. This is Arfio BTW.
It's part of the game and of retro formats to sack and base sack it, so it's fine. Just those two cards.
And that brings us nearly to the end of this interview, so I want to hear from you. What are your shoutouts? Who do you feel that you, in part, owe this victory to? And who else in the community do you really appreciate enough to give a shoutout to?
The first one is Funkat. I really have to thank him a lot because he helped me testing for weeks and also suggested a lot of changes that improved my deck list. And then I would also like to thank everybody from the locals in Catania. They are the reason why I am playing Tengu, and also I still am in touch with them and sometimes review each other our also a big thanks to them. And of course to the whole community and the mods of the tenguformat.com Discord server. And you for being the judge of the whole event.
I think I took 2 judge calls. And finally, let's end it with a personal question from me. So, I don't speak Italian. My extent is limited to watching Sopranos. But penso means think, right?
Yes, yeah.
See, Yu-Gi-Oh! Makes you transcend language barriers. I picked that up from watching Italians play Yu-Gi-Oh!
Means more like I am thinking, not just thinking, but it's the same.
It's too complicated for people who don't speak Italian, I see.
Yeah.